Hello, hello. It is Laura Gathers, and I am hopping on here tonight to once again talk to you about the Love Harder Marriage Conference that is happening on October the 13th here in Ashburn, Virginia. Tonight, we have a very special guest that is going to hop on, and his name is Eric Elliott. He has been such a tremendous help for this conference. He is partnering with me to oversee, along with Al Howard, the Husbands Huddle, which is where husbands will go and they will be poured into as the wives are upstairs getting poured into. So, let me tell you a little bit about Eric. Eric is the author of Onward to Manhood, and I am so excited that he is going to be speaking to the husbands on God's purpose for them as a man. I think that it is instrumental for men to understand what God's purpose is for them as men before they try and figure out what it is God has called them to be as a husband and as a father. So tonight you will hear from none other than Mr. Eric Elliott himself. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Natasha. Thank you for joining. I hope you heard tonight we're going to have Eric Elliott on, and he is going to speak to us about God's plan or God's purpose for men. So let me tell you a little bit more about the conference while I have you. The conference is going to take place on October the 13th. Let me tell you again, October the 13th. And the conference is taking place here in Ashburn, Virginia. I am so excited too, Jessica. Like, the more we do these Facebook Lives and the more I'm talking to the conference speakers, the more excited I'm getting. I'm just so thrilled about this event. And so we are going to have sessions like the theme is unlocking God's purpose, plan, and power for your marriage. And so the husbands tonight, we're going to be talking to Eric. So tonight he's just going to share a little bit about what God's plan is for you as a husband. His purpose is for you as a husband. And then later on, we're going to have Will Cravens on, and well, not today, but he's going to talk about what God's plan is for you as a husband. And so I'm just so excited about this marriage conference. Hi, Eric. We are ready for you to hop on. So if you see where you can send in your request, go ahead and send it in and we'll get you on here. And so we are so excited to have this conference. Pour into you all. It's just going to be a really, really good time. One of the things a lot of people have been asking is, hey, my husband or my wife can't make it. Can I still come? Of course you can. We're having breakout sessions. So either way, you're going to leave the conference being filled with God's plan, God's purpose, and God's power for your life. And then you can spill that over into your spouse. So if they can't make it, don't let that stop you from registering. Good evening, Eric. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Laura. I'm glad to be here with you. I heard the rumor. The rumor is last year y'all had an incredible time with the women, and this year y'all going to include the men. And so I want to be a part of it.
I'm so glad you want to be a part of it. And first, I want to say thank you. Thank you for choosing to be a part of the planning committee and helping us develop some awesome things for men to encounter at the conference this year. Now, I'm not going to ask you to share what they're going to be doing because I know you don't want us wives copying off of y'all. But I do want you to share a little bit about yourself first, and then I want you to share what it is men can expect coming to the conference.
Yeah, again, first of all, I want to thank you for extending that invite, for allowing myself as well as the other people on the committee to help put together this conference. One of the reasons I know that this is so important is that there are marriages out there that could use some enriching, that could use some rebuilding, that could use some encouragement, quite frankly. Again, my name is Eric Elliott. I'm the father of two. I'm the husband of one. I've been married to Kimberly Price Elliott since 1998. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
So we'll be celebrating our 20th year of marriage this year, coming up in November. And so we've had a chance to experience a whole range of experiences through matrimony. We've experienced great gain, we've experienced some great loss, we've experienced the highs and the lows. And so, we look forward to being able to come, not only just to share, but also to learn from some of the other people who will be attending this conference as well.
Awesome.
I can tell you one of the things that has me so revved up is I get a chance to talk to lots of different people
Hmm.
who are at different levels in their marriages. And so, no matter who I'm speaking with, there's always something I can glean, always something I can learn from them. And I'm rip roaring ready to share with the men. I'm also ready to learn from the men as well.
Yes. I love it. So let me just let you know, your wife paved the way last year. Like your wife is such a woman full of wisdom, and so she has represented your family well. Not to put any
She
pressure on
is full of wisdom. She lets me know about every day how full she is of wisdom. Consequently, it's spilled over into me too.
you.
So I have just a little bit, just a little bit.
So we are so excited to have you be a part of this. So what can the men expect?
Well, one of the things I want to be able to share with the men is, and you touched on it already, is the purpose of manhood. So, whether we're talking about men who are already married or men who are soon to be married or men who wonder, I don't know if this marriage thing is for me or not. The
Yeah.
whole range, you're all welcome to come. So we're going to be sharing on all those different levels. And some of the things we're going to roll out will include things about the track of manhood, because manhood rides on a specific track. Quite frankly, manhood nowadays is under assault from so many different arenas, so many different areas. People have so many different ideas about what manhood is. So all I'm simply going to do is ask the originator, what is manhood about? And we're going to share from the platform of what the creator of manhood had in mind when he said, "This is manhood." We all understand well if the car needs a tune up, we take it to the manufacturer. We all know if the toaster is busted, we take it back to the manufacturer. We know that if the furnace needs to be fixed, the guys who manufactured it can fix it best. And it's the same way with manhood. When our manhood is broken and busted, and even if it's on track to do well, we have to go back to the originator and find
Yeah.
out what was the original intent, what was the original design. Although these different things are going on in 2018, let's go back to the original intent, because in the original intent, we'll find out where we can go from there.
Thank you. And I think that's very true. That is the whole purpose for this conference, is to first understand what God's original intent was for you as an individual. What is his purpose for you as a man and as a woman? And so I think once we understand that, then we can embrace the other roles and responsibilities that come along with being that man and that woman. So that's like fatherhood and being a spouse. But until you can embrace what God's original purpose is for you, you're going to struggle in those areas. And that's why I'm so excited about this conference. I really feel like the Lord is going to help us unlock those doors that have left us confused and frustrated. And some may be even saddened about not understanding what their purpose is. But just like you said, go back to the originator, go back to the manufacturer, the one who made you, and ask him, Lord, what is my purpose? So I know the men are just going to have a fabulous time downstairs in that husband's huddle. And I know they are going to be blessed. I wish I could sneak in and just hear a little bit about what y'all are going to be talking about. And I think you made an important point. Like manhood is truly being attacked. I talked to my brother-in-law Al today just about that. Like I really want men to feel equipped in their role and understand what their role is. It looked like we lost Eric. I'm sure he'll come back on. But like I was saying, I was talking about that manhood just being attacked, and I really believe that Eric and the team downstairs, like I said, Al, they are going to really help you all like understand who you are, how God has created you, and what your purpose is as a man. And I am just so excited about that. I hope Al I hope Eric is able to hop back on. I'm not sure what happened there, but you heard him. Eric has written a book. I think Natasha put it in the notes. It is Onward to Manhood, and it is a phenomenal book to really equip your husbands, your sons, your uncles, your father. Like, it's a really good read to help equip them for what it is God has called them to do. So make sure that you go ahead and check out his book. Now, of course, there'll be copies at the conference on sale, but check out his book, Onward to Manhood, because there are some nuggets in there that will help prepare you for this conference. So if you can get it and start reading it early, go ahead and do that, because then you can come to the conference and ask some questions about it, and then visit him. Natasha, I think, also put the link to his website. He has a podcast that you can subscribe to, so make sure you check him out. Eric, what's your email address? I don't want to get it wrong.
My email address is Gusto,
Your website.
Gusto.
Website.
Website is my name, www.ericjelliott.com. That's EricJelliott.com. And you know, you couldn't have been more on track when you said man is under attack, because I just lost my technical feed for just a few minutes. But just like and that's symbolic of what we have to do in manhood. We have attacks, we have things that interrupt us and block us and try to prevent us from moving forward. But we have to press forward. It's kind of like the scripture says, being steadfast and immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. And I tell you what, marriage is in fact one of those works that he has designated for us. The manhood is the first work, and then marriage is probably one of the second works he's designated for us. And we always have to be abounding and moving forward in that thing. And we'll come to that realization. We'll do it in a very fun, a very interactive way, because if there's one thing I can't stand, it's boring. But boring puts me to sleep, and if something's boring, I'm likely to get up and walk out. Well, I tell you what, in this particular conference, in this particular session, you won't get up and walk out. You'll get up and you'll walk forward into your manhood.
I love it. I love it. So we have some people on here. We have some live guests. Do anyone have any questions for Eric? Any comments? I'll give y'all a couple of seconds. Eric, I will say this. We're going to have some young men who have not they are not married yet. And what advice could you give to them, like as far as embracing their manhood before they become husbands?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that that makes you very attractive, one of the things that makes you very marketable, so to speak, is the things that happen. Again, we'll go back to the original spot, back to the garden. Before Adam got married, Adam had he had a work to do. And you know, a man needs a job, he needs a business, he needs a work to do, so that he's actively productive, you know, using the gifts and the talents that God has already placed in him. Because if he's not stirring up his gift and using those things, then he's not necessarily moving forward to to a more desirable, a more marketable place. Second thing he needs is a word to obey, a direction, a place to take him beyond who he is, an authority under which he can submit. And once he's in a position where he's got a word to obey, he has a work to do, then he puts himself in position to have a woman to love. And those are three key things that just come about in terms of the development of a man.
I like it. So a work to do, a word to obey, and a woman to love, in that order.
Indeed.
The three W's.
Indeed.
The three W's for manhood. I like that. I like that. Eric, I do have one more question for you. So one of the biggest complaints that I hear with wives is the lack of leadership, the lack of the ability to be a leader from their husbands. What is it that you believe this conference can do to help men understand their role as a leader?
Well, sometimes we have leadership so far out there that we just get frozen. Leadership basically starts in very small segments. I mean, a man can be a leader in something as small as helping your children to make up the bed, or insisting that they make up their bed, helping them to brush their teeth, or insisting that they brush their teeth. And it's in these little bite-sized pieces that we step into a role of leadership. So what are we going to do in leadership? We're going to do something that requires initiative. Maybe we can
Yeah.
put some gas in the car before it gets to a point where you know that it's going to irk your wife or it's going to irk somebody else. Um, if you know it gets to the halfway part of the tank and it's going to irk her, put some gas in that thing before it gets there. Take the trash out before it stinks up the whole house. Taking initiative in so many different areas, beginning with the very small areas, is where we begin to build our leadership, and from there it grows. Because if we're not taking leadership in, just in like everyday chores or in the smaller matters and things, then we cannot grow to those larger places.
Love it. I love it, Eric. So, you all have heard from Eric Elliott. Eric, is there anything else you want to share? I do want you to share your podcast information and anything else that is on your heart to share tonight. And if you don't have anything, then we will say good night.
Well, I tell you what, again, I want to thank you for putting together this conference. It's been a yeoman task, I know, to be able to pull all these different resources together and be ready for October the 13th. I certainly want to encourage everybody who's anywhere near the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, anybody who's near that zip code to come on out to this particular conference and just learn from somebody else. Let other brothers uplift you. Be able to pick up some things from them. Come ready to share. Come willing to learn. I do share. You did mention a podcast. I have a podcast available. If you go to my Facebook page, which is by my name, Eric Elliott, you'll see the top TOP, the Onward podcast. And week by week, we talk about. Week by week, we extend an invitation to God's bold imagination. That's pretty much the tagline for the podcast, because God has some incredible things that He'd like to pour into us, some things He'd like for us to do, some things He'd like for us to share. And if we're just willing to receive, bit by bit, the things He has for us, then He
Yes.
can use us in some marvelous ways, whether it be, with our family, whether we're single, whether we're married, whatever have you, whether we've stepped away from the marriage, all these different things. God, no matter what level you are, God's big enough to handle it. He wants to be able to connect with you where you are, so He can advance you to a place where you can be even more useful, even more fruitful.
I love it. Eric, one last thing. It just popped in my head when you were talking. That male mentorship is, I see a lot of men struggling with having someone to hold them accountable. If there's one tip that you can share with men on how to find the right accountability partner, I noticed that women tend to have a lot of people around them, but I don't see a lot of that male mentorship. What is one tip you can give someone in cultivating a relationship where they can have that accountability?
Hmm. Well, Laura, it reminds me of a quote I read one time. It says, it is not as difficult to develop a new idea as it is to escape an old idea.
Okay.
And the old ideas that we have is that we can kind of do things on our own. We can be the Lone Ranger. We can get it done by ourselves. But some of the things I found just in terms of being able to connect with men, connect with friends, is that find things that we have in common.
Yes.
Whether it be sports or business or faith or whatever those things are in common, begin to draw together with one another and find a way to connect with someone, and that accountability just kind of bubbles up from there. If you can sit down, I had a chance to have lunch with an incredible guy, a good buddy of mine, early this week. This guy's been married for a little over a year and a half,
Wow.
and he and I were able to just talk on an equal level. He's been married for about a year and a half. I've been married for coming up on 20 years now, but to see the fresh enthusiasm in his eyes about marriage, pulls out of me an accountability that says, hey, my wife is just as engaging. She's just as fresh. She's got just as much spark and spunk, but I have to be able to see things with fresh eyes. And that's one of the things that I get from just talking to other guys and being accountable to other guys, to be able to see things with a fresh pair of eyeballs, whether you've never been in this marriage game, whether you've been in this marriage game for 40 years, or whether you're just getting started in it. you can see things with fresh eyes, and those fresh eyes enable you to be accountable, enable you to be loving and faithful in ways that you couldn't imagine, or if you tried to do it just by yourself.
I love it, Eric. Thank you for that. Like, find that commonality with someone and connect with them, because we do need connection. And I like that. Get rid of that mindset that you don't need anyone, because we do. We need each other in a lot of different ways to help each other grow and to help each other have a different perspective in life. So thank you, Eric. Once again, thank you for being a part of the conference planning committee. Thank you for agreeing to be a speaker. And thank you for just pouring into all of us, myself included. I really appreciate it. And for all of you who have joined us, the Love Heart of Marriage Conference is October the 13th here in Ashburn, Virginia. Go ahead and register. The link is right up here on the page. Thank you, Natasha, for putting the link up there. You can go to loveharder.yapsody.com to register for the conference. Do not wait. This will be an event that you will be happy that you have invested in. You will leave there feeling equipped to do the work God has called you to do as a woman, as a man, as a husband, as a wife, as a child of God. You will leave there with purpose, and you will leave there with a plan of action on how to move forward in the roles that God has trusted you with. So once again, thank you for joining us. And I do want to thank our sponsor. I really appreciate Off the Hook Fishing for going ahead and sponsoring us. Hopefully, Eric, we can get some men together and go on a fishing trip with Off the Hook Fishing, located in Graysonville, Maryland. So if you are in that vicinity, check them out. They will take you out on fishing parties, and you will come back and have food to feed your family. Where they say, teach a man to fish, and he'll do what? Eat for the rest of his life. So go out there and learn how to fish. All right. So thank you, Eric, once again for joining us. And don't forget to check out Eric's book, Onward to Manhood. Check out his podcast by visiting his website, ericjelliott.com. Thank you, Eric. Have a good night.
I will. You too, Laura.
All right.